Krishna Caitanya Prabhupada Jayapataka Swami Maharaj.
The following is a lecture given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami on April 23, 1984 in Atlanta, Georgia. The class begins with a reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritāmṛta, Adi Lila, Chapter 9, verse 52 and 53.
Sarvaloke mata koila apana saman, preme mata loka bina nahi dekiyan. With his Sankirtan movement, the Lord made everyone mad like himself. We do not find anyone who was not intoxicated by his Sankirtan movement. Translation and repetition. With his Sankirtan movement, the Lord made everyone mad. Like himself. We do not find anyone who was not intoxicated by his Sankirtan movement. Jai Jai Purve Ninda Koila Bole Matawal, Seho Phala Kaya Nache Bole Bhalo Bhal. Jai Jai Purve Ninda Koila Bole Matawal, Seho Phala Kaya Nache Bole Bhalo Bhalo. Translation. Persons who had formerly criticized Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, calling him a drunkard, also ate the fruit and began to dance, saying, "Very good, very good." Translation. Persons who had formerly criticized Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, calling him a drunkard, also ate the fruit and began to dance, saying, "Very good, very good." Purport. When Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu started the Sankirtan movement, even he was unnecessarily criticized by Mayavadis, atheists, and fools. Naturally, we are also criticized by such men. They will always remain and will always criticize anything that is actually good for human society. But the preachers of the Sankirtana movement should not be deterred by such criticism. Our method should be to convert such fools gradually by asking them to come and take prasada, and chant, and dance with us. This should be our policy. Anyone who comes to join us, of course, must be sincere and serious regarding spiritual advancement in life. Then such a person, simply by joining us, chanting with us, dancing with us, and taking prasad with us, will gradually also come to say that this movement is very good. But one who joins with an ulterior purpose to get material benefit or personal gratification will never be able to grasp the philosophy of this movement. Thus in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. So one thing here Srila Prabhupada encourages us to be very tolerant of criticism, because even Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, when he started the Sankirtan movement, even he was unnecessarily criticized by Mayavadis, atheists, and fools. He didn't pay attention to them. He went on with his Sankirtan movement. This was not only what he did. He not only ignored them, but he also gradually invited them and got them to participate in his Sankirtan movement. until they also became mad after Krishna, and they were saying, actually, this Sankirtan movement is very good, very good. Balo, balo. Even when the Krishna conscious movement first went to India, there was a movie called Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, made by one of the most famous Indian movie stars called Dev Anand. And he depicted a hippie who was going all over India, because many hippies used to go to India and still do, taking marijuana. And the theme song was Dam Hari Dam, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Dam Hari Dam means take another toke. Chant Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. So, or take another puff or whatever it is. So, in this way, when we first started to preach in India, everyone thought, oh, all these Westerners, they're actually here for taking marijuana. They're not actually devotees. Many common people had that idea. And when you go on the street, they'd see the devotees and they go, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Dam, Hare Dam. And then, the devotees, they'd become so disturbed that here they're trying to preach, even in India, and they had to endure such ridiculous thing. Of course, Krishna conscious movement is based upon pure living. We don't take even coffee, tea, cigarettes, or to speak of marijuana or whiskey or anything else. But somehow, just due to this propaganda, false propaganda, people had the wrong idea in the beginning. And everywhere you went, this is how you were greeted by punks on the street corners. So it was very difficult for devotees. But gradually people could see what is the real character of the devotees, what is their actual purpose. And even that movie star Devanand, he came and offered an apology and became a life member. And gave some donation. He was feeling guilty that he had, in this way, misrepresented. Of course, it was a smash hit. So everybody knew about Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, but they had a wrong idea. So now, all those people that were chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Ram somehow or another, now they're chanting more seriously. They're joining our Rath Yatra processions. You never hear that anymore. Maybe once in the whole year. Now people are very respectful and very appreciative, accepting that yes, Krishna consciousness is original Vedic culture. It's not simply an import from the West, not some kind of an imitation, but actually it is an import from India that went, an export from India that went to the West, took hold, and has come back. And therefore people are very enthusiastic. And in fact, in any major religious conference, they always invite the ISKCON representative or Acharya to go there and to speak. And they give them the exalted seat along with all the other Acharyas of their recognized Acharyas in India. Along with the Ramanuja Acharyas or the Madhva Acharya, they give the equal seat. Even though there are people from different countries, they don't consider on any bodily conscience. They see that they're also heads of the most important religious institution of the day. And even these very orthodox people, they are completely acceptive of the Krishna conscious movement today. But this is all the mercy of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, that even if in the beginning sometimes people criticize, and now they're giving an equal seat, but in the future they'll realize that Lord Chaitanya's movement is actually deserving of the most exalted seat, because they're carrying the message of Lord Chaitanya, which is actually the message for this age. The message which is the only message that is completely guaranteed to be effective in this age. Any other system may be good, but whether it will be adequate to cure the materialistic disease of this age is very, very doubtful. But this chanting of Hare Krishna is guaranteed for everyone, whether neophyte or whether the most advanced person. This chanting of Hare Krishna is supremely effective. So Srila Prabhupada, he had to endure so many criticisms when he went to preach in India with all of his followers from around the world. Sometimes they would accuse them of being, say, these foreigners are secret agents. They would say, they're CIA. Prabhupada became so disturbed, he once put an advertisement in the newspaper that on the order of my spiritual master, I've gone all over the world and preached the Sanatana Dharma, the message of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and I've been able to attract the intelligentsia of different countries of the world, and I brought them back to India. They're following 4 regulative principles: no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling, and no illicit or extramarital sex. They're chanting Hare Krishna every day. They're rising at 3:30 in the morning. They're not living in hotels. They're not concerning themselves with anything else but the propagation of the message of the Bhagavad Gita. And he appealed to all the responsible people of India that they should see that the actual position. And this way, Prabhupada was upset that these criticisms were instituted in the Parliament of India by the Communist Party of India member, whose name was Bhupesh Gupta. And the Communist Party of India has one member of its Politburo in India sit on the Politburo in Russia. So, for some reason, Russia personally wanted to see the Hare Krishna movement preaching stopped in India. So we went to see that Bhupesh Gupta and said, why did you criticize? Listen, I like you people. Actually, you're doing good work. What can I do? I got the order from Moscow. So, this is the thing. Sometimes people have this critical idea in the beginning due to ignorance. But we hope that even in Moscow in the future the people will see that actually this Hare Krishna movement is only solution to their problems. Communism is not the solution to the world's problems, neither is capitalism. Materialism at all isn't the solution. The solution is actually Krishna consciousness, to be God conscious. That you can combine it with any political system. If the people are adequately God conscious, then there's some hope. Otherwise, simply political systems, dry, materialistic systems, they're never going to satisfy the people. They may intoxicate the people for a short period of time, but in the end people will be dissatisfied and they'll revolt in one way or another. But they don't know what to revolt to. Therefore, the end result will also be unsatisfactory. In this way, they simply become more and more animalistic. So people have to be trained. What is the real purpose of human life? Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he very methodically, he just kept hammering home the point that everyone is eternal, and they're the eternal servant of Krishna, of God, and it is their only duty to serve the Supreme Person. That is their ultimate duty. Everything else is just a temporary maintenance of this body. But the actual purpose of life is to serve and to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to realize Him in fullness. That is the perfection of yoga, that is the perfection of life. So, of course, even Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was preaching, I think I mentioned many times how different people would stand outside his door and criticize him, speculate, what is he doing? No one could figure out, what is Lord Caitanya doing? These people are singing, why they're jumping up and down? Why they're laughing like madmen? Because no one has any such experience. People get drunk and they dance sometimes. Or people, they just dance sometimes for 4 or 5 minutes for joy. Or they may even folk dance for an hour. But this type of wild dancing and laughing and crying, and sometimes the devotees become so ecstatic they even fall down on the ground. And while chanting the names of God, this is completely unheard of. So at the beginning people thought there must be something else. They must be taking some kind of intoxication on the sly. But then, with association, they could see that no, these devotees, they don't take any intoxication. They're actually intoxicated on God. They're intoxicated on the transcendental qualities and in the transcendental love of Krishna. And that's the only pure intoxication. That's the only pure happiness. Because it's not at all dependent on any material source. You don't have to have anyone give you a fix or any kind of just terrible thing like that. It's independent. You don't have to depend even on these people that are lining up to get their cigarettes, lining up to get their weekend ration. In Canada, where they have government-controlled whiskey stores, before the holidays, people line up sometimes to get their ration, to get their whiskey. So, this type of thing where people are somehow or another trying to get a little bit of relief from material nature, so they're trying to become intoxicated. They don't realize the actual relief from material life is spiritual life. The actual happiness is spiritual happiness. And the real status of life is to be always happy in love for Godhead. The Lord Nityananda, he used to go, and everyone who would see him, he would just give him love for God, just like his devotee Minikatan Ramdas. He'd go around and have a flute, and whoever he touched with the flute, they would become ecstatic. In fact, Lord Chaitanya, he was so ecstatic that when the fisherman caught him in the net, and when that fisherman touched Lord Chaitanya, he became just ecstatic. His tears started flowing from his eyes, his hairs started standing on end. He started choking up and crying, and he was just chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. And when Swarup Damodar was looking, where did Lord Chaitanya go? They were going up and down the side of the ocean in Puri. There they found this fisherman. And he said, what's the matter? They found him chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Just hysterical. He said, what's the matter? He said, I've been possessed by a ghost. I thought, what kind of ghost makes a person chant Hare Krishna? Where is this ghost? He said, just see that dead body, that terrible thing. They're lying in the sand, 9 feet long, making a horrible sound. Gug, gug, jug, 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 jug. I just touched it and I was just overwhelmed. The cold shiver came through my body. My hairs were standing on end. I haven't stopped crying. Sometimes I'm laughing and so horrible. Swarup Damodar said it must be Lord Chaitanya. He touched Lord Chaitanya, and because he's so frightened, he doesn't realize that he's actually experiencing ecstasies of love for Godhead. And there they saw Lord Chaitanya completely elongated. His arms were dislocated and just held together by the skin. His knees were dislocated, held together by the skin. They said, that's Lord Chaitanya. The fisherman said, no, I know what Lord Chaitanya looks like. He's so beautiful. This is, look at, that's terrible. Because Lord Chaitanya had been floating in the water for so many hours, and over days practically, that you know how the skin becomes wrinkled and it became pale, and different ecstatic symptoms made him look completely different. The devotees, then they put down a cloth on the ground, turned Lord Chaitanya over, washed off his body, and they began to chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then when Lord Chaitanya heard the devotees chant, boom, he contracted and came back together. He came back to external consciousness. No one can imitate the transcendental ecstasies of Lord Chaitanya. Actually, even the devotees feel some ecstasy. It's just superficial. Not superficial, it's real, but it's insignificant. It's of course, in a lesser quantity, a minute quantity of what Lord Caitanya experienced. Nonetheless, the minute quantity that the devotees in a conditioned state, just like that fisherman, he was so frightened that he was feeling ecstasy, but he didn't even know it was ecstasy at first. Because he was so frightened, he didn't know what it was. You see, sometimes a person chants Hare Krishna, doesn't know that this is ecstasy at first. It's because it's not tuned in. They're frightened or they feel uneasy. They never experienced such a thing. Because initially, we're seeing it from the material senses, from the material mind, looking in towards the soul. And as we become advanced, finally we become liberated, then we actually experience directly seeing from the soul out. Then we can fully appreciate the ecstasies of Krishna consciousness in an unlimited way. Even in our conditioned state, the ecstasies of Krishna consciousness are inconceivable. More than any other happiness, and the sensations of the senses and mind, it's inconceivable. You see, but at first it's something different. So a person, if they're not in a normal state of mind, if they're hysterical or if they're extremely agitated, then they might not. There might be this mixture of their agitation and the ecstasy, which makes it difficult for them to understand what's actually happening. So, actually, that fisherman, he was so hysterical that just to get him to speak where Lord Caitanya was, Srup Damodar had to say, "All right, I know how to cure these ghosts. You just stand still. Don't worry. I'm going to get rid of the ghost in the name of Krishna. Ghost, leave him. 1, 2, 3. Bah, bah, bah." He slapped him 3 times. "All right." He shook him. "Everything's all right." Actually, there was no ghost at all, but just to make the person think that, all right, he was all right. Then he calmed down. Then he was still ecstatic, but that time his fear was over. Then he could speak and they could just point out where Lord Caitanya was. So that was an extreme case. You see, sometimes people, when they're walking down the street, they hear the Harinam, they actually feel something. But they don't know what it is, so they get all frightened. They cover their ears and they run away. One time a devotee asked for what to do if somebody covers their ears when they're going by the Harinam. Prabhupada said, pull their hand away and chant louder in their ear. It's having effect. So, anyway, by inviting people to take prasadam, like our Radhakanta Prabhu is doing, or he's even going out to them, or as we're doing here in the temple, and by letting them hear and chant and dance with us, they gradually then they become converted. They become convinced that this Krishna conscious movement is very, very good. You see, any open-minded person, they can see, well, there's nothing wrong with this movement. It's very good. But because people have never seen anything like this, even in India, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his movement 500 years ago, they never saw groups of people chanting congregationally like this. Before, people used to sit down in yogic asanas and chant individually. That's why even some Indians, at first, they don't know what to think about all this. But in Eastern India, of course, everyone knows the movement of Lord Chaitanya. And in Eastern India, everyone takes these processions out and chants Hare Krishna. But in the past 100 years, preachers from Eastern India didn't go to the western parts of India and southern parts of India and spread the Sankirtan movement as they should have. So now this Krishna conscious movement is preaching, of course, to all parts of India. Now we have our branches in over 20 cities in India and to all parts of the world. So although, of course, everyone around India accepts Hare Krishna chanting as the most sacred hymn, the most sacred mantra, but many of them they chant just sitting down in a small group. They call it Ram Nam or Ram Dun, or they chant it like in South India in a small group, or they chant it as japa individually. But chanting as with these madrangas and dancing, this is something unique for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's actually introduced that all over India. And we know that this was performed in the spiritual world, in the heavenly upper planetary systems also, this kirtan. So this is something that has just come to this planet recently. The chanting has been here brought by Narada Muni some thousands and thousands of years ago. But how to chant it in a massive group with hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of people, this has been introduced by Lord Chaitanya. So now, this chanting, instead of chanting, "We shall overcome," people should be trained to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And they can also be completely ecstatic, and they can begin to dance and say, "Very good, very good. Thank you very much." Any question? Yes? He was walking with the devotees, and suddenly he was looking at the ocean, and he fell into that trance that this ocean is the Jamuna. He just saw the water and the moonlight, and he reminded himself of Krishna used to play on the side of the Jamuna during the full moon and play his flute, and he would attract all the devotees of Vrindavan. So seeing the moonlight reflecting on the ocean, Lord Chaitanya was reminded of Krishna. And thinking of Krishna, he had like a darshan, like a vision of Krishna there on the other side of the Jamuna. And he just ran into the ocean, just suddenly. And his devotees looked left and see, where did Lord Chaitanya go? They're just walking by the side of and suddenly he's gone. He just suddenly, they're walking, they don't know what ecstasy Lord Chaitanya was thinking in his mind. All of a sudden Lord Chaitanya took off like a bullet and just ran into the ocean. At that time, just seeing as Vrindavan, he would sometimes go into these ecstasies. And then, they didn't know where he went. I thought maybe he ran down the beach, because it was dark, it was moonlight. So then, the next morning they were looking and they just couldn't find him. That was the problem. Haribo. Any other question? Yes? They might feel compelled to, but no one's ever... That's why you chant Hare Krishna. You can chant for a long time if you commit offenses. And Lord Chaitanya taught both how to avoid offenses, and by chanting Lord Chaitanya's name before chanting Hare Krishna, actually the offenseless chanting of Hare Krishna creates more ecstasy. But whether they feel inclined or not, they've just... No one's ever broken that inertia. But once you saw in the slides last night how everyone... They also came out and they were chanting and dancing in the streets, so it's not hard for them to take it up. They already know chanting. In fact, in many places in South India, the main chant is Hare Krishna. And then I ask, who is the person who spread this chanting here? And nobody can remember. So it's definitely Lord Chaitanya, when he toured South India and had everyone chant, that chanting is still there because of the seeds and the preaching that he did. And in one remote village, we found a whole village that was chanting and dancing. And they had a temple. And they were chanting the mantra, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. And then we asked them, where did you learn this chant? They said, we don't know. Our forefathers taught us. But we don't even know what it means. We just chant and dance and we feel very nice. Because no one had been preaching there for so long. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta went and opened a temple in Madras, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he put footprints on the path of Lord Chaitanya. But apart from that, that was the first preaching in hundreds of years that had again returned Lord Chaitanya's message there. So, nature is that after some time people forget. Lord Chaitanya didn't bring any books with him. He just went and told people to chant. So after a while, then they continued chanting, but then they forgot that who was that saint, who was that preacher who came there and told them to chant. They just continued chanting. So now we're reminding, now they can see that yes, actually it was Lord Chaitanya. They're accepting very easily. And there's no one else. Ramanuja didn't teach them to chant Hare Krishna. Madhvacharya, no, who taught them to chant Hare Krishna? It was Lord Chaitanya. Haribo.